My name is Mitch Meyers, and it is March 14th, 2023. And it's my honor and my pleasure to introduce Warren Kaman and to interview you today for the Dallas Jewish Historical Society Oral History, which will go on their website. Welcome.
Thank you.
Excellent.
You're looking good as always.
Thank you too, my friend. So I'm just going to ask you some questions and feel free to talk and speak about them. And so tell us your full name.
Warren Neil Kaman.
Very good. And where were you born, Warren?
In Brooklyn.
All right. And when were you born?
September 28th, 1948.
Very good. And do you know why your parents named you Warren and Neil?
My name Warren I was named after my mother's grandfather. I think his name was William. I don't know where the Neil came from. My father wanted to name me something that couldn't be shortened, like or put a Y on the end like everybody in New York does. So if your name is Mitch, everybody would call you Mitchie. Or if your name was Bill, everybody would call you Billy. And Warren couldn't be shortened. So he wanted to name me something that wouldn't be shortened, and Warren would be my name.
Okay. And since we're talking about your mom and dad, tell us their names.
My dad's name is Leonard, and my mother is Matilda with an H, Mathilda.
Okay. And where is your family from?
They're from New York. I think both born in Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. And their parents, are they also from New York? Or?
My dad's father was born in New York, and his mother was from Poland. And my mother's mother was born in New York, and her father was from Austria. And the Kaman family, our surname was Kolmanovich, and we're from Russia.
Interesting. And siblings?
I have one brother.
And tell us his name.
His name's Mark.
I know Mark. Okay. So describe your family and their personalities as you're growing up and as you're a young elementary school age boy growing up.
They were supportive, loving, good parents, particularly good when you're children. My father was fair, but firm and loving. He was my favorite person ever. Miss him every day. My mother was, typical Jewish mother, I mean, she did all the basics and, I think did as good as she could do. Being a parent, you don't study for it. You're a parent and you do good. They got along well. I never saw them have a crossword. Loved each other, married 60 years, they did fine. We had a good, fun upbringing. I mean, I think I grew up in as good a time as anybody could hope to grow up in.
That's fabulous. That's really cool. Tell us, when did you move to Dallas, and how come
I was 2. It was like in the summer of 1951. It was before my 3rd birthday.
And do you know why you moved to Dallas?
My dad was in the men's clothing business, and the Southwest area was his territory. And people in those days could live in New York or wherever and make 10 to 12 week trips to their territories and then go back to New York. But the business had dissipated a little bit after World War II. And so the edict came down from the higher ups that all the salesmen had to move into their territories. And so we moved to Dallas.
Okay. And so your brother, being how many years younger than you?
5.5. He was born in Dallas.
So he was born in Dallas. And what was your relationship like, 5 years difference growing up?
I wasn't the best brother. I didn't like having the responsibility of looking after him. I was selfish, he was a great kid and a fabulous man. And I just, wanted to be left to whatever it is I wanted to do without having to look after him, which I had to. And I didn't like that, but I did it, and I think I kind of took it out on him.
Okay. As a lot of older brothers do, right?
I think so. I think I maybe took it to a little bit bigger level. Just whatever. I mean, we used to call him tag along. I don't think it helped him any. And I think looking back, I wasn't very good at it. I wish I would have liked to have a mulligan at this. I mean, we're great friends now, and lost out on a lot of time because of who I am, and me wanting to get away from all that was going on, being rebellious and hedonistic that I am, and him not being that way. So but I've loved him every day I've been around. I just missed out on a lot. I wish I would have been closer, but we're real close now.
Great. So did you know your grandparents, and did they come?
Yes, I did. I knew them. One of them lived to be 30 or so, my mother's father. But I didn't know them well. They lived in New York and we lived in Dallas. So we saw them occasionally in the summertime, and that was basically the context of which I knew them. They were very different. My father's father was he grew up with the mobsters in New York, and he was a tough guy. And I mean, he knew all the Bugsy Siegel types and Meyer Lansky types, whether he knew them, he knew their associates and people like that, because they all grew up in an area of Brooklyn called Brownsville. And my grandfather was a tough guy, real tough guy. He fought 4 professional fights, I believe. He won the first 3, and he lost the 4th one, and he waited for the guy to come out, and he beat the crap out of him after he got out of the dressing room, because he didn't want to have to take a loss. I mean, he was that kind of guy, very fast with his fists, tough guy, lovely. I loved him a lot, but he was sweet to me, but he was a tough guy. I mean, he got married at 20 or 21, and uneducated, manual labor, eventually owned a candy store in Brooklyn, like you see in the movies, those old candy stores, and not far from Ebbets Field in Brooklyn. And he and my uncle, my dad's father-in-law, owned it together. And I remember hanging out there when I was 6, 7, 8 years old. It was a trip. It really was. My grandmother, his wife, a real pretty woman, she was always sick. She had like Lou Gehrig's disease, and she died young. She was in her early 50s. Her name was Minnie, and my brother Mark was named after her. My mother's mother died at 63 from lung cancer, never smoked a cigarette. Her father lived to 90, and he had 2 older brothers that were still alive. And my grandmother had 2 sisters that lived into past 100. So there was a lot of longevity in the family. My mother made it to 95. And didn't take really good care of herself. My dad made it to 88, and he was very healthy until he got sick. And nobody in his family, I don't think, made it past 65. So,
okay, that's good. Yeah. Let me pause for 1 second. Is there anything you can do to prop your phone up so it doesn't shake around? Yeah, whether it's just leaning it against something, a book or a cup, and if not, it's okay. It's just moving around a little bit. And I just want to make sure we get all of you.
Oh, good. I like getting all of them.
Okay, now we just raise it up a little so we get your head. There we go. And with your Dallas Cowboy hat. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back in business, boys and girls. So tell me, where did you go to elementary school?
Preston Hollow.
Preston Hollow. It's still standing. You know that.
It is.
And what about junior high school? Was that
Ben Franklin? In fact, I think I was in the first class there, the 7th grade.
No way, really?
I think so. First or second, yeah. Because Preston Hollow only went to the 6th grade,
Right.
and I mean, you might have gone to Kramer. Did you go there? Or
Yeah.
I mean, and I think they went to the 7th grade, and so you didn't go to junior high school until the 8th grade. So we were the only 7th grade class, I think, from Preston Hollow.
That's very cool. So very cool. So now you're going through elementary school into junior high. What's going on in the world around you at this time?
Well, it's about 1960. I think President Kennedy had just gotten elected. You know, it was a youthful attitude. I think the country was changing. You know, I mean, we were sheltered. You know, the things that go on now, we had no clue about. I mean, we, you know, we went to school and played sports every day, and you know, had a great time. I mean, I loved it, you know.
That's great. So, but you knew what was going on with around the country with.
I knew a little bit. I mean, politics had just kind of seeped into my consciousness. I kind of liked it, you know. I liked listening to the news, you know, like 30 minutes a day listening to Walter Cronkite because I trusted what he had to say. It was cool. And, you know, always watching the sports and catching the scores and all like that. So, you know, I kept up with it. You know, we spent a lot of time in front of the television set. You know, I mean, that was our babysitter, so to speak. So, you know, I mean, you know, when we got in at 6 o'clock at dinner time, you know, we didn't go back out after that. So we were there. So, you know, we were either at home in school or playing from, you know, 3:30 till 6. The rest of the time we're at home.
Right. And did you ride bikes?
A little bit. I mean, I didn't ride them to school. I walked occasionally, or, you know, my parents took me. I don't remember. I mean, I did have a bike. I rode there occasionally to school. It was about a mile away to school. In junior high school, there was a bus that took us that stopped at the corner, but that was the only time.
Okay. So when you're talking about sports, so what teams are you enamored with at this point?
Well, I've always been, you know, being from Brooklyn, I've always been a Dodger fan. So, and still am, you know, a Dodger fan. So I always rooted for them. I remember going to Ebbets Field when I was a kid, you know, so that was really great. Dallas, you know, didn't have a professional baseball team until the early 70s. So we'd go to the minor league games at Burnett Field in Oak Cliff. My dad loved baseball. So we went to a lot of those games, and, you know, major leaguers, you know, future major leaguers, good players, you know, went through there. We got to see a lot of them, Carl Yastrzemski, Willie McCovey, people like that played in minor leagues. You know, I got to see them. And then the Giants and the Cleveland Indians used to barnstorm through Texas because they had spring training in Arizona, and they would come through there and play a series of games in Dallas in the spring, and we would go see them. It was fantastic. I got to see Willie Mays play. Wonderful.
Yeah, I would imagine Willie Mays, favorite player, right?
Yeah. Always a Cowboy fan. Always a Cowboy fan from the jump. You know, of course, I was a big Don Meredith fan. I remembered him in high school when he played for SMU, so I did that. And in basketball, I was a giant Boston Celtics fan because they were on TV every Sunday, either playing Philadelphia or the Lakers, and they always won. So I loved watching them play.
Still a Celtics fan?
Still a Celtics fan, yeah. Jason Tatum's my favorite player, yeah.
Still a Cowboys fan? I guess you got to have.
Still a Cowboys fan, yeah.
It's great.
And they're hard to root for.
Oh, that's another subject for another day.
We can talk for weeks on that. I mean, you know, if they had a new owner, they would do better.
Yeah, okay. So going from junior high, now you're going to Hillcrest, right? That's your
right.
Yeah. Any Jewish organizations you're part of at this time?
AZA, Reuben Kaplan AZA.
AZA.
Yeah.
And were you bar mitzvah?
Yeah, Sheriff Israel.
Sheriff Israel, very nice. Congregation chair. You remember much about your bar mitzvah? And
you bet. I remember a lot about it.
Party afterwards?
I remember arguing with my father because he wouldn't let me invite any of my friends. It was just adults. I mean, I was really pissed. You know, I'd get invited to, you know, your brother's bar mitzvah party, to Ronnie's or to Mark Shore's or to the Gutos or whoever, and I couldn't invite any of them to mine.
Yeah, and that would be upsetting, right?
It was very upsetting. But, when my father had his mind made up, it was, he didn't second guess himself,
Yeah. Well,
But
so
40 or 50 years later, I forgave him. So it was okay. Yeah.
okay, that's good to know. So tell me, who's some of your friends? You listed some, but can you tell us some other?
Well,
friends?
Chuck Lewis, Alvin Miller, John Browdy, um, Larry Fine, uh, your brothers Seth and Ronnie, Steve Guto, Mike Grossfeld, Mike Eisenberg, Mike Gallant. Um,
It's a good list of friends. So at this time, I understand that Kaplan AZA had a couple of friends that started a little football game. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what that was all about?
football game, which
Well, I guess a Christmas Day Classic football.
okay, I get it was an outgrowth of that. I mean, it was not quite as organized as Christmas Day Classic seemed like it was a name that came on later on. I don't think it's let's have a Christmas Day Classic. It's Christmas Day, being that we don't celebrate Christmas, we played football, which was not unusual since we played football every day. I mean, we after school we'd gather at the Jewish Community Center, choose upsides and play football every day, tackle football with no pads, maybe 250 days a year. I mean, 20, 15, 18 people would show up, we'd choose sides and go to kicking each other's ass. I mean, it was fun. It was great. And we did that all, from junior high school all through high school. The Christmas Day Classic is kind of got special as the years went on. I mean, it was more of an event. We had a party associated with it. And, we were big time. We had a referee, as I recall, Mark Donald, I think, used to referee the game. I mean, he was the de facto referee because Steve Guto made all the decisions. You couldn't, question him because he took it as a point of honor that if you disagreed with him, it's like you were calling him a liar, and he took umbrage to that. So, but we had a lot of fun. We took a lot of pride in the winning side. We gave the other bunch a bad time, once we won it. We'd break balls and, tease them about it and stuff like that. But, I was kind of MIA for a lot of years. I mean, I played until I was maybe 25 or so. And then, I had moved to Houston and kind of got away from it. So I wasn't a part of it for maybe 40 years or so.
The Christmas Day Classic, you mean
Yeah.
after y'all were out of high school and college?
I just, with what I do and what I did and socially and whatever, I lived in Houston. I was busy at Christmas and particularly on Christmas Day, I was busy for whatever reason. And so I just didn't make it. And I didn't associate with my old friends much. I didn't keep in contact with them. I mean, it was my doing, but that's pretty much what happened.
Okay. So, so now it looks like you're graduating through Hillcrest. You're thinking about a college. Did you go to college? Where did you go?
I went to the University of Texas. It was not hard to get into in those days. They took pretty much everybody, and I went to college there. I was 17 when I left. I was a straight A high school student, never caused a lick of problems. And when I got to college, I wasn't quite ready for everything down there. I was seduced by the dark side of the force. There's just too much gambling, too much women, too much drinking. Had a hard time finding my way to class. I just was having too much fun. It was a complete 180 change, and it, not for the better necessarily. I picked up a lot of street knowledge, but not a lot of book knowledge.
Did you stay there for 4 years?
Maybe in total, but not all at once.
Oh, did you graduate?
No, I did not.
Okay.
But I went there several times.
So what's going on at UT, not specifically in Austin, but like around the world, around the country? What's going on?
Well, it's it's the height of the Vietnam War, so even Texas, which is as conservative as it is, there was a lot of protests and not riots, but a lot of marches and stuff like that that went on to protest the Vietnam War. I really wasn't a part of that. I was too busy playing cards and looking at pretty girls to have my consciousness raised politically and socially. I mean, I liked listening to the news and stuff like that. Wasn't a fan of the Vietnam War or any other war, but there was this incredible convergence at that time between the Vietnam War, women's liberation, the integration of housing at the University of Texas, and birth control, to where what went on years earlier was completely different. That went on starting in the mid and late 60s. The women were feeling freedoms that they never had felt before. And, the good old Southern mothers didn't want their lily white daughters having to room with ethnics, so to speak, as they would refer to them back in those days. So a lot of the girls lived off campuses, and I think the moral fiber, the women were more subject to experiment with their sexuality, with whatever, and they went to college, I think, maybe to learn something and to find out more about themselves, and didn't necessarily have to go there to get their MRS degree and to define them. And so they were having more fun, and it benefited the men as well because of that.
Well, that's good. So you're aware of what's going on around. You listed four pretty big things. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that's very good. Very good. So it's interesting. It is a convergence in the 60s.
You bet.
Yeah, big convergence. Maybe more so then than now, for sure.
I think so. I think certainly from a historic standpoint, I mean, it was like, they went from 0 to 60, pretty fast. And, the genie got out of the bottle, and she didn't want to get back in. This was the new, the low level. It was going to go up from there. This was the new line in the sand that was going to be crossed, and much more thinking, much more open-mindedness, and Texas was a little late coming to the flower child revolution and stuff like that, but they kind of came along eventually in the late 60s and early 70s. There was more of more laid back, and people started smoking grass, and I really don't know. I wasn't there then, but I think there was just a more relaxed atmosphere than the more conservative that it was 8 years earlier, say, so to speak. It wasn't as buttoned.
Yeah, sure. So were you a part of any Jewish organizations?
I was SAMI, a fraternity.
Okay. And you were you still friends with some of your high school buddies?
I mean, we were friends, but Mark and Izzy and Ronnie were at school there. So and Chuck, so I saw them, and but I kind of branched out, and with other people, had a different, kind of circle of friends. Wasn't nearly as close to my high school friends as I were to the new people that I had kind of hooked up with.
Nice. And are you still friends with some of the friends you met in college?
Not really. I mean, I had several great friends. One in particular, that's my closest friend. I have contact with him. I see him all the time. He lives in Houston. The two other great friends that I have in college, I do not have any contact with anymore.
Okay. And then some of the high school guys you knew or know, are you still friendly with them?
I am now, but we had a pretty big gap to where, we weren't in contact. I mean, for whatever reason, mainly because I was MIA with them.
Gotcha.
You know, what was going on in my life was different. You know, friendships, for the most part, I think are the people you hang out with is behavioral. You know, people that are married and have children and regular jobs seem to hang out with people that are married, have children, and have regular jobs, as opposed to a single guy who drinks and gambles and chases girls. You know, he's hanging out with guys that drink and gamble and chase girls and do drugs or whatever. You know, I mean, it's just that's the nature of it.
Okay. So after college, now what's your thought process? Did you leave Austin at any time, or did you
I
stay?
left it, yeah, several times. I left. I went to Dallas. I went to work. I went to work in the men's clothing business for a number of years, and you know, did okay. I mean, but you know, wasn't really motivated by it, and tried it out for a number of years. Lived in Dallas, and then I moved to Houston in the late '70s, and changed industries, and just became a professional gambler for the last 44 years.
Okay, and how's that rolling for you?
Like it fine.
Okay. Well, that's what's important, right?
You know, I'm not married. I don't have children. So, I mean, I've had some ups and downs, but mainly ups. I'm good at what I do. And so I've, you know, not rich, but comfortable. So here I am.
Very nice. Very nice. So, well, you've told us a little bit about your life in college, and just after college, you've tried some work in Dallas area. You've found your niche in Houston, what you like to do. And you still live in Houston? You've been there for a number of years, since the 70s?
I have.
Okay. Are there any events that have shaped your life that you can recall, whether it was in college or after college, that you can recall, something that's been profound on you?
I don't have a seminal event, so to speak. I mean, I had a bad breakup with my closest friend who did something really bad about 30 something years ago, and it hardened me a little bit as far as trust is concerned. You know, when you're betrayed by the people you trust the most, it has a real lasting effect. I mean, I always had this discussion with my father about friends and family, the difference between the two, and I missed out on not being as good a family member, and didn't buy into his philosophy about how the importance of family is. And he was right and I was wrong. And I didn't want to admit to him how right he was and how wrong I was about who I trusted and who I didn't. And I have a hard time trusting people. I really have trust issues. And a lot of it has to do with this one particular incident.
Okay, well, we'll leave it at that, because those are tough things to talk about, but I appreciate you bringing that up. It's good for people to know and to learn, and you know. Tell us a little bit about your health. I mean, were you an exercise guy? Did you?
I was never, ever. I was always overweight, sometimes really overweight. I'm not now. I mean, I've made exercise a good friend. I mean, my health is kind of precarious now. I've been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So, you know, I'm kind of fighting that, and going through treatment, and, you know, was diagnosed in November of 2020. So, you know, I've been dealing with that, and doing okay with it so far. You know, I haven't suffered too badly with it. And I kind of like the fight. You know, I'm unhappy that it happened to me, but I don't sit around, you know, feeling sorry for myself. I just kind of take the battle to it, and let's see what happens.
Well, you are, and thanks for bringing that up, and good luck with your fight.
Thank you. I mean, it's probably going to win, but you know, that it's not going to win today. So, I mean, I'm still, you know, exercising, socializing, is, you know, playing poker, traveling, doing the things I like to do.
Well, good. And so travel is another thing. Where do you like to go?
California is my favorite. in the San Diego area. In fact, I'm going in 2 weeks. I go out there as often as I can. There's a group of people I know out there that I like to socialize with. There's a really good friend of mine that I met here in Houston that we go a lot of places together. We travel together. We have similar interests. We like to play cards. We like to party. We like to look at girls. We like to play poker. And we do that in several venues. And California is our favorite place.
Nice, great weather too, right?
Yeah, that's, I asked the people that live in San Diego where they go on vacation, because why would you ever want to leave? And they go to Colorado in the winter to ski. That's it. The rest of the time they stay home.
We're all trying to get there. That's right.
If I could afford it, I'd live there. It is that pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. So throughout this period where you've developed pancreatic cancer, have you any Jewish identity have come back? Any other beliefs that you can share with us? Or
no, I mean, my Jewish identity is, I have a personal relationship with God. We speak regularly, so I've always had that, and mine is more spiritual than religious, I think. So I don't adhere to many things, or I don't go to services, or I don't observe dietary laws, but I am 100% Jewish. Love it. Love that I am, and love the relationship that I have, and enjoy talking to God about it. So
that's great. Thanks. One thing I forgot to ask you, when you were in high school, did you have a nickname?
Jumbo.
There you go, Jumbo.
Alvin Miller made it up. Yeah.
Alvin Miller gave it to you.
Jumbo stuck with me. There's people that call me that now. I promise you they don't know my name, but they know Jumbo.
Well, I didn't want to bring it up until you said it, so I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
I've called you Jumbo my whole life. So
yeah, well, everybody does. So and there were a lot of times where you could see why, but now you probably, how did you get that nickname? Because I'm one of the smaller guys now.
So besides traveling to San Diego, anything else for fun? You still like sports, I take it?
I love sports. I watch it a lot. I used to go to the games a lot. I was a season ticket holder with the Rockets for a long time, but it's just 2 tickets and a couple of beers in a parking place is like $650, $700 to go to the game. It's a pretty good financial commitment. So right. I don't go anymore. My brother has been a season ticket holder with the Cowboys forever. He's got 4 good seats. So when I'm in Dallas, occasionally I go with him. It's great. The Astros being as good as they are, I go to a few of their games. That's fun.
Yeah. What do you think about what they went through with the, I guess, the trash can and the video of the pitches? I'm a big fan of adhering to the rules. I don't like artificial advantages. I want to push the envelope, play as hard as you can, but color inside the lines. That bothered me a lot. Interesting.
But not what you would call an Astro fan necessarily, but I like to see them do well. But, if they don't, I'm not ready to jump off a building.
Right. I guess if you ask an Astro fan, a diehard, they would say, well, they didn't do anything anybody else didn't do.
Everybody does it, so it's okay.
Right. So
we want it. They can't take it away from us and whatever, but they cheated. You can call it, parse words or whatever, but they did.
They cheated. All right, let's take a sip. Okay, I'm going to ask you 3 or 4 more questions. I've really had a great time, but I want to finish up with some more profound stuff. So what accomplishments are you most proud of, Warren?
Yeah. I don't have anything monumental that I've done. What I'm most proud of is that my word is law. When I say something in my field, it's like it goes unchallenged. That's what I'm most proud of. My honor and integrity is intact. I have never screwed anybody over. I've done a lot of business in a lot of areas, and love me or hate me, my word's good. That's what I'm most proud of.
Well, that's a big deal. That's great.
Well, it is to me,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's important to me. I like the unvarnished truth. I like people that tell that. I can't get enough of it. I've heard enough stories. I'm probably the most lied to person I've ever met. So being the business that I'm in, the financial aspects of it, but I don't do that. I live and die by my word. And I don't think there's anybody that could say it's not good. And I'm proud of that.
Very nice. Okay, great. What's the one thing that you would like your family and or your friends to remember about you?
That I'm available to help. That, if you need something, I mean, people would ask, boy, if you need something, give me a call, and hope nobody calls you. I mean, just it's a lot of conversation. But if people I cared about needed something that I could help them with, I would hope they would consider calling me, because I would like to help them.
Okay. And last, what advice would you like to leave for the next generation that watches this oral history?
Tell the truth. I mean, tell the unvarnished truth. I mean, you don't lie about things, just be straight with people. I think you'll live a better life. I think you'll be happier with yourself. I think people would respect you more. I mean, don't parse words, don't obfuscate, just lay it out there. Like Hamlet, to thine own self be true. Just do it, and you'll be happier with it.
That's good. I like that, those words of advice. Thank you for that. So did you have anything you would like to add, or that we missed?
We covered whatever. I just wish the people that I know to be strong, stay healthy, try to take care of themselves, and enjoy their life. I mean, it maybe took me a while to realize it, but it's a blessing. It is. It's just not conversation. You only get one shot at it, and you really need to live it to the fullest. I mean, you just do. I mean, fly first class. If you don't, your kids will. So, just enjoy it, spend some of your money, have some fun.
Can I use that line now?
But feel free, buddy. I mean, get after it. I'm sure I used it. Somebody used it before I did. I didn't make it up.
Fly first class or your kids will.
Right.
Well, I want to say you and I were going to do this live in person, and somebody at Dallas Jewish Historical Society got COVID. We couldn't do it live when you were in town. So you are the first person that I've done an interview with over Zoom.
All right.
I'd rather have nobody than you to do that with.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you to Warren Jumbo Kaman, my friend. I really appreciate it. It's great to see you. I look forward to seeing you many, many more times.
You certainly will.
All right. I'm going to call it a day. And I don't know if Jessica will get back on the line, but it's been fantastic. And I appreciate it. I love you, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You bet.